The Pale Botanist. I stood at the threshold of my childhood home. The door cracked slightly, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. It had been years since I last set foot in this place, a place that had once echoed with laughter, but now felt suffocated by the weight of shame and disbelief. The familiar scent of damp wood and fading floral wallpaper twisted my gut, reminding me of the derision that had chased me away. "Look at the mad botanist!" they would chant, my own family's laughter a haunting melody. "You'll lose your mind chasing after fairy tales." Their voices still rang in my ears, a cruel reminder of their scorn. But I wasn't here to seek their approval. I was here to reveal the truth they had mocked, to show them what lay hidden beneath the veneer of normalcy. Years prior, the world had laughed at my passion for cognitive phytopathology, the study of how certain plants could manipulate human cognition. After the chemical spill, when I warned of the invasive flora that was changing, evolving, they had fired me, labeling me a paranoid fool. The truth was, I had uncovered something profound, something sinister. The plants weren't just watching us. They were learning, adapting, weaving their roots into the very fabric of our minds. As I pushed through the door, I was met with the familiar creaks of the old house. But this time, there was an unsettling silence. It was almost as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for the inevitable clash between past and present. "Is anyone home?" I called, my voice echoing off the walls, heavy with trepidation. I stepped into the living room, the furniture still arranged as I remembered, but cloaked in a thin layer of dust, like a forgotten memory. And then I saw them, my family, gathered in the kitchen. They turned to me, expressions a blend of shock and disbelief. My mother's eyes widened, her hand frozen mid-motion as she stirred a pot. My father's brows knitted together, confusion flickering across his face. I was no longer the pariah. I was something else entirely. "I'm back," I said, forcing a smile that felt like shards of glass caught in my throat. "I've come to show you what I found." "Found?" my brother scoffed, breaking the fragile silence. "What makes you think we want to see your delusions again? You've made a fool of yourself long enough." But I had anticipated this. I had spent years delving into the grotesque and the beautiful, unraveling the secrets of plants that could bend the human mind. I had faced the horrors of my research, and now I was ready to unleash them upon my family, to show them the price of their disbelief. "Let me show you," I said, my voice steady as I reached into my satchel. I pulled out a small glass vial, the contents swirling with a viscous green liquid, a concoction drawn from the roots of a plant they had once dismissed as mere weeds. "This is what I've been studying. This is the truth." Their laughter died in their throats as I placed the vial on the table. "You think this is a joke?" I pressed on, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline course through me. "This is what happens when you ignore the signs. This is the cost of ignorance." My mother stepped back, her face paling as she caught sight of the vial. "What have you done?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Nothing yet," I replied, a dark thrill coursing through me. "But you will see." With a swift motion, I uncorked the vial and poured its contents into a bowl of water. The liquid shimmered, casting an eerie glow across the kitchen. The air grew thick with a palpable tension, and I could feel the weight of my family's disbelief pressing down on us. I watched as the water began to ripple, the surface reflecting not just our faces, but something deeper, something primal. The plants I had studied were alive, and their power was unfurling before us like a blooming flower, revealing the hidden horrors that lay beneath. As the water swirled, shapes began to form, faces twisted in agony, eyes wide with terror. My family gasped, stepping back as the apparition coalesced. the tortured spirits of those who had fallen victim to the plant's insidious grasp. They were witnesses to the madness I had endured, the truth I had sought, and the horror I had faced alone. "Do you see?" I shouted, my voice breaking through their stunned silence. "This is what I've been trying to warn you about. They're not just plants, they're predators, and they're watching." My father's face contorted in fear, his bravado shattered. My brother stumbled back. The very air around us seemed to thrum with the weight of what I had uncovered. "Stop it!" my brother shouted, his voice cracking. "You're scaring us!" But I could no longer contain the exhilaration of vindication. "You ridiculed me, mocked me for years. You called me insane. But look at what you dismissed." The water began to churn violently, the faces in its depths screaming silently, reaching out as if trying to escape. It was a cacophony of terror, a symphony of the damned, and I reveled in the chaos that had finally come to bear witness to my truth. As the apparitions faded, the kitchen fell into a heavy silence. My family stood paralyzed, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and realization. They had laughed at my obsession, but now they were confronted with the consequences of their disbelief. "Please," my mother finally whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We didn't know. We didn't believe." And in that moment, I felt a pang of something that resembled pity. I had won, but at what cost? The horror that had consumed my life now shadowed theirs, a dark crown resting upon my head. "I've survived," I said softly, the weight of my journey pressing down on me like the roots of the very plants I had studied. "But you can't ignore this anymore. It's here, and it's watching us all." With that, I turned to leave, the echoes of their disbelief following me like whispers in the wind. I had returned to confront my past, but it was clear that my family would never escape the shadows of their own ignorance. They were now witnesses to the truth I had uncovered, a truth that had transformed me into something they could never understand. As I stepped back into the chill of the night, I realized that the real horror wasn't just in the plants that watched us. It was in the people who refused to see. And now they would bear the weight of that knowledge forever.